Hey everyone, welcome back. We love to dive deep into all things AI, and today's topic is one that might surprise you.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you don't really think about.
Definitely, we're talking about the hidden water cost of AI, and to help us break it down, we're looking at this essay, The Thirst of Intelligence, AI, LLMs, and the Global Water Crisis. It came out just this year.
2025, yeah.
Crazy to think how fast things are moving, right? Okay, so get this. Training just one AI model, like GPT-3, can use a whopping 700,000 liters of fresh water.
Imagine hundreds of households and all the water they use in a year.
That's basically the amount we're talking about for a single AI model.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it that way.
It really is. So where does all this water actually go?
Well, you have to remember that training these AI models requires massive data centers, and they generate a ton of heat.
Right, all those servers running constantly.
Exactly, and to keep them from overheating, they need a lot of water for cooling.
So that's like the direct water use, right?
Yeah, what they call Scope 1 emissions.
And then there's also the indirect use, all the water that goes into generating the electricity to power these data centers.
Scope 2, exactly. And a lot of that electricity still comes from power plants that use water.
Fossil fuels, yeah.
So even if we make those data centers more efficient, the overall water demand could still go up as AI computing power keeps growing at this insane rate.
It's doubling every few months, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. It's crazy.
It really makes you think about the scale of this, right? We're talking about global implications.
Absolutely. And we're already seeing some of the consequences, especially in areas that are facing water stress.
Yeah, that situation in Iowa comes to mind. OpenAI's training for GPT-4 used up a huge chunk of the local water supply. It caused a lot of tension in the community, understandably,
It's a classic example of the kind of conflicts we might see more of in the future.
as the demand for AI and its water needs keeps growing.
Exactly. And it's not just happening in Iowa. You have Google building data centers in places like Oregon and Uruguay, places that are already dealing with drought.
It seems almost counterintuitive, doesn't it?
You'd think they'd build them where water is plentiful.
But I guess there are other factors at play, like access to cheap electricity.
And land availability, yeah.
But it does raise some serious questions about global inequalities and the potential for conflict over water resources.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about the connection to climate change.
How does that play into this?
Well, as the planet warms up, cooling needs increase, which means more water demand. Plus, the carbon footprint of all these data centers contributes to the problem.
So it's a bit of a vicious cycle.
Exactly. More AI, more energy, more emissions, more warming, more water stress.
It's a lot to wrap your head around, isn't it? This incredible technology that could revolutionize so many things. But at the same time, it comes with this hidden cost, this massive water footprint.
Yeah, it's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Well, one thing that comes up a lot is the idea of water recycling.
Right, using treated wastewater to cool those data centers.
But is that really a sustainable solution in the long run?
Well, it depends. Some of those processes, like reverse osmosis and desalination, they use a lot of energy themselves.
And we already talked about the water footprint of energy production.
So it's not a simple fix. It's more like shifting the problem around.
It's like trying to plug one leak while another one springs up.
Exactly.
And then there's this whole idea that AI can actually be more efficient than humans at certain tasks. Like, I remember reading that generating a 500-word article with AI uses way less water than if a person wrote it.
Yeah, that's true in some cases, but the problem is we don't really have a clear picture of how much water AI is using overall.
It's like those claims about fuel efficiency, but you don't know the size of the gas tank.
Exactly. And there's a lot of greenwashing going on, vague claims about sustainability.
It's frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, we need more transparency, something like standardized water footprint disclosures.
Similar to what we have for carbon emissions.
That would allow us to compare different companies, track progress, and hold them accountable for their environmental impact.
So where does that leave us? We've got this technology with huge potential, but it's also got this growing water footprint, and we don't even know the full extent of it.
It's a challenging situation, for sure.
And it's connected to all these other big issues like climate change and global inequality.
But it's not all doom and gloom.
Okay, so there's hope.
There's always hope, and the essay we're discussing actually highlights some of the ways AI can be part of the solution.
Oh, that's right. I almost forgot about that.
We'll get into that a bit, but for now, I think the key takeaway is that we need to be aware of this water cost and be mindful of the choices we make as we develop and deploy AI.
That's a great point. We need to be critical, ask questions, and demand transparency. So we'll be back after a short break to explore how AI can help us address the very water challenges it's contributing to. Stay tuned.
See you soon.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but the essay The Thirst of Intelligence also talks about AI being used to make things better when it comes to water, like creating a more water-secure world.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom, that's for sure.
Definitely good to hear. So what are some ways AI can actually tackle those challenges?
Well, one area where AI is making a big impact is in something called predictive hydrology.
Predictive what?
Hydrology, basically, using AI to predict water-related events like floods.
Oh, okay. So like a super-powered weather forecast, but for water.
Exactly. Imagine using AI models like GPT-4 Vision to analyze satellite images and predict where and when floods might happen.
That sounds incredible, especially with climate change and all the extreme weather we're seeing.
Exactly. If we can predict those events more accurately, we can prepare better, potentially saving lives and property.
It's like an early warning system, but much more sophisticated.
Right. And it's not just about predicting floods. AI can also help us monitor water quality in real time.
Real time. So like constantly checking for pollutants and things like that.
You got it. There are these AI-powered biosensors that can detect contaminants in water sources instantly.
That sounds way faster than the traditional methods of collecting samples and sending them to labs.
It is. With real-time monitoring, we can identify problems much quicker and respond more effectively.
So if there's a sudden spike in pollution, authorities would know right away.
Exactly. It allows for faster intervention and mitigation.
That's amazing. And what about agriculture? I know that's a huge water user.
You're right. Agriculture accounts for a significant portion of global water consumption.
So how can AI help make farming more water efficient?
We're seeing the development of AI-driven irrigation systems. They use sensors, weather forecasts, and even satellite imagery to determine how much water crops need.
So no more guessing or overwatering.
Precisely. It's about using the right amount of water at the right time, which is good for both conservation and crop health.
It's like giving the plants exactly what they need when they need it.
And AI can also help develop drought-resistant crops and optimize planting schedules to minimize water use.
So it sounds like AI can play a huge role in making agriculture more sustainable.
It definitely has the potential to revolutionize the way we grow our food.
But are there any downsides to using AI in these ways? I mean, every technology has its limitations, right?
Of course, one concern is that these AI-powered systems could actually worsen existing inequalities.
How so?
Well, if these technologies are only accessible to certain groups, like large-scale farms or wealthy countries, it could create a gap between those who benefit and those who are left behind.
Now, that makes sense. Not everyone has equal access to technology or resources.
Exactly. So we need to ensure that AI is used to promote water equity, not just efficiency.
So it's not just about the technology itself, but also about how it's implemented and who has access to it.
Precisely. And this brings us to another important point, transparency and accountability.
Right. We talked about that before in terms of water footprint disclosures.
It's crucial for all AI systems, especially those dealing with something as essential as water.
So how can we ensure that these systems are fair and unbiased?
Well, for one, we need to understand how they work, what data they're using to make decisions.
Like being able to look under the hood and see what's going on.
Exactly. And we need mechanisms in place to identify and correct any biases or unfair outcomes.
So it's not enough to just have the technology. We need to make sure it's used responsibly.
Absolutely. And that requires collaboration between researchers, policymakers, industry leaders, and the communities who will be impacted.
It sounds like a complex challenge, but one that we need to address head on.
It is, but I believe we can find solutions if we work together and prioritize both sustainability and equity.
So on a more optimistic note, you mentioned earlier that the essay also highlights some exciting developments in AI hardware.
Oh yeah, there's some really cool stuff happening that could make AI much more environmentally friendly.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these hardware innovations.
Well, one of the most promising areas is something called photonic computing.
Photonic computing, what's that?
It's basically using light instead of electricity to process information.
Light instead of electricity. That sounds straight out of science fiction.
It kind of is, but these photonic chips are real, and they have the potential to revolutionize AI.
How so?
Well, because light doesn't generate as much heat as electricity, these chips require much less cooling.
And less cooling means less water usage, right?
Exactly. And they're also faster and can transmit data over longer distances.
So it's better for the environment and has performance advantages. It's a win-win.
In theory, yes, but there are still some technical hurdles to overcome before photonic computing becomes mainstream.
But it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
For sure. And then there's neuromorphic computing, which is inspired by the human brain.
Oh, right. We talked about that before. It's like building hardware that mimics the way our brains work.
Exactly. These neuromorphic chips are incredibly energy efficient.
There's that efficiency link again.
It's a common thread in sustainable technology, and these chips are also really good at processing complex data in real time.
So they're efficient, powerful, and adaptable. Sounds pretty impressive.
They are. And then we have Edge AI, which is all about processing data locally on devices.
Still sending it to the cloud, right?
Right. And that means less data needs to be transmitted back and forth, which reduces energy consumption.
So less energy use, less water use, it's all connected.
It is. And these are just a few examples of the many exciting hardware innovations that could make AI more sustainable.
It's incredible to think that the technology itself could be part of the solution.
It's a fascinating paradox. But as we continue to push the boundaries of AI, we need to keep investing in sustainable hardware.
So it's not just about the algorithms and the software, but also about the physical infrastructure.
Exactly. The future of AI and the future of our planet are deeply intertwined.
And speaking of the future, the essay also mentions some truly mind-blowing technologies that are still in their early stages.
You're talking about quantum computing and DNA storage, right?
Yes, those sound like something out of a science fiction novel.
They kind of are, but they have the potential to revolutionize AI and make it far more sustainable.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about these futuristic technologies.
Well, quantum computing harnesses the principles of quantum mechanics to perform calculations that are impossible for traditional computers.
So it's like a whole new level of computing power.
It is, and while it's still early days, quantum computers are expected to be much more energy efficient.
There's that efficiency connection again. So quantum computing could lead to more powerful AI systems that use less energy and water.
That's the hope. And then we have DNA storage, which is basically encoding digital information in DNA molecules.
Wait, storing data in DNA, is that even possible?
It is. DNA is incredibly dense and stable. You could theoretically store the entire world's data in a few grams of DNA.
That's mind-boggling. And what about its energy efficiency?
DNA storage requires far less power than traditional data centers.
So once again, we see the potential for huge energy savings, which translates to water savings.
Exactly. And DNA is also incredibly durable. It can last for thousands of years if stored properly.
So it's compact, energy efficient, and long-lasting. It sounds like the ultimate storage solution.
It has a lot of potential, but like quantum computing, it's still in its early stages of development.
But it's exciting to think about the possibilities. These technologies could really change the game for AI and sustainability.
They could, but as with any powerful technology, we need to proceed with caution.
What do you mean?
Well, we need to consider the ethical and societal implications of these advancements.
Right. It's not just about the technical feasibility, but also about the broader impact on society.
Exactly. We need to ensure that these technologies are used responsibly and for the benefit of all humankind.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
I think the main takeaway is that AI has the potential to be both a problem and a solution when it comes to water.
It's like a double-edged sword.
It is, but we have the power to shape how this technology evolves and to ensure that it's used to create a more sustainable and equitable future.
So it's not just about the technology itself, but also about the choices we make and the actions we take.
Precisely. And the more informed we are, the better equipped we'll be to make those choices.
Well said. It's been an incredible journey exploring this complex relationship between AI and water. We've learned so much about AI and water. It's been a wild ride. From the shocking amount of water AI uses to the amazing ways it can actually help solve water problems.
It's definitely been a journey exploring this complex relationship.
If we wrap things up, what are the biggest takeaways for our listeners? What do we really want them to remember?
I think the most important thing is that AI's water use is a serious issue, but it's not a hopeless one.
Right. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, but there are things we can do.
Exactly. We talked about switching to renewable energy for those data centers.
Yes.
And making them more efficient and developing better hardware.
It's like laying the groundwork for a more sustainable future for AI.
Yeah, building a greener foundation for this technology.
And let's not forget about all the amazing innovations happening right now, like those photonic computers and brain-inspired chips.
All those advancements that could drastically reduce AI's energy and water use.
It's inspiring to see how human ingenuity can come up with solutions.
It really is, but technology alone isn't enough.
Right, we need policies and regulations to guide responsible AI development.
We need governments and organizations to step up.
Like, what kind of policies are we talking about?
Well, for starters, mandatory water footprint disclosures, just like we have for carbon emissions.
That would make a huge difference.
That would bring so much transparency to the industry and give consumers the information they need to make better choices.
And maybe some incentives for companies to adopt water-saving technologies.
Exactly. We need both transparency and accountability to make real progress.
It's about shining a light on those hidden costs.
Making them visible so we can address them effectively.
But it's not all about reducing the negative impact.
Right. AI can also be a powerful tool for solving water challenges
We saw some incredible examples of that, like using AI to predict floods,
and monitor water quality and optimize irrigation.
even designing infrastructure that can withstand climate change.
It's amazing how AI can be both a problem and a solution.
It really highlights the need for responsible development and deployment.
We need to be aware of the risks and the opportunities and make conscious choices,
It's about finding that balance between innovation and sustainability.
and ensuring that AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
That's such an important point. We can't let AI exacerbate existing inequalities.
We need to make sure access to water and these AI-powered solutions is fair and equitable.
It's about using AI to create a better world for all.
A more just and sustainable world where everyone has access to the resources they need.
This has been an incredible learning experience. It's really opened my eyes.
It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
So for our listeners who have been with us on this deep dive, what can they do to make a difference? It's a big, complex issue. It can feel overwhelming.
One of the most important things is to stay informed. The more you understand about AI and water, the better choices you can make.
Knowledge is power, right? But what about taking action?
You can support companies that prioritize water sustainability, advocate for policies that promote responsible AI development.
Even simple things like conserving water in our daily lives can add up.
Every drop counts, and don't underestimate the power of conversation.
Talk to your friends, family, colleagues, raise awareness.
It's a collective effort. We all need to work together to find solutions.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me, and I hope it has been for our listeners as well.
It's been great exploring this with you.
AI is such a powerful tool, but it's up to us to use it wisely.
The choices we make today will shape the future of both technology and our planet.
So keep learning, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.